Welcome to Legacy Coins, and before we go any further, let me ask you something. Have you ever held a nickel in your hand and wondered if it was worth more than 5 cents? Most people never think twice about a nickel. They toss it in a cup holder, lose it in the couch cushions, or hand it over at a gas station without a second glance. But what if I told you that one specific nickel, minted in 1998, stamped with AP, and looking almost identical to every other Jefferson 5 cents coin out there, has been valued at a number so staggering it would make your jaw drop to the floor? We're talking about a coin that most people would spend on a piece of candy. Yet in the hands of the right collector, it has commanded a price of $104 million. That's right, $104 million for a single nickel. And before this video is over, you're going to understand exactly why, how, and what to look for, because one of these could be sitting in your home right now, and you wouldn't even know it. But stay with me, because I also have another coin coming up later in this video that is going to completely shatter everything you think you know about pocket change. And trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming, because what's waiting for you at the end of this video is something even the most seasoned coin collectors were not prepared for. Now, let's talk about the 1998 P. Jefferson 5 cents, one of the most talked about, most hunted, and most misunderstood coins in all of American numismatic history. To understand why this coin is so extraordinary, we first have to travel back to 1998, a year that on the surface seemed perfectly ordinary for the United States Mint. The Philadelphia Mint, designated by the famous P mint mark, was operating at full capacity, cranking out hundreds of millions of Jefferson nickels to feed the voracious appetite of American commerce. Jefferson nickels had been produced since 1938, featuring the third president of the United States, Thomas Jefferson, on the obverse, and his beloved Monticello estate on the reverse. By 1998, the design had been around for 60 years, and most people thought they knew exactly what a Jefferson nickel looked like. But that assumption, that confidence, is precisely what makes certain rare versions of the 1998 piece so devastating in their value. You see, the mint in 1998 was dealing with a confluence of factors that would, unknown to most workers at the time, produce a small number of coins that were fundamentally different from their standard counterparts. The dies used to strike coins wear down over time, and as they wear, the impressions they leave on coins begin to show subtle but detectable differences. Some dies, however, were used beyond their recommended lifespan, creating what numismatists call late die state coins. Coins struck with worn or cracked dies that leave behind distinctive marks, doubling effects, and surface anomalies that make them instantly recognizable to trained eyes. But the 1998 P. Jefferson Nickel's fame doesn't rest solely on die wear. There are specimens that have surfaced over the years showing dramatic, full steps on Monticello, a feature so rare and so difficult to achieve on Jefferson nickels that coins displaying 5 or even 6 fully struck, unbroken steps on the reverse are treated like holy relics in the coin collecting world. The steps of Monticello, you see, are one of the most notoriously difficult design elements to strike fully and cleanly on a Jefferson nickel. The geometry of the design, the metal flow during striking, and the slightest imperfections in die alignment all conspire to rob those steps of their sharpness. A coin that emerges from the press with all its steps perfectly struck, perfectly separated, perfectly visible, that is not an accident. That is a miracle of manufacturing, and collectors pay for miracles. Now combine those full steps with a coin that also displays a doubling error, where the design elements appear slightly doubled due to a misaligned hub during the die creation process. And you have a coin that is essentially a perfect storm of rarity, beauty, and historical significance. Certified examples of the 1998 P. Jefferson Nickel with full steps and doubling errors have entered auction rooms and left them with price tags that beggar belief. Dealers who specialize in Jefferson Nickel speak about the finest known examples in hushed, reverent tones. These coins don't come up for sale often, and when they do, the bidding wars are ferocious. Imagine a room full of the world's most sophisticated collectors, all of them knowing exactly what they're looking at, all of them desperate to own it, and all of them willing to spend whatever it takes. The hammer falls, and history is made. $104 million changing hands for what the rest of the world would spend on a pack of chewing gum. The story of how these coins enter the public consciousness is almost as fascinating as the coins themselves. Many of the rarest 1998 P nickels were discovered not in auction houses, but in everyday circulation. A grandmother emptying her purse, a child sorting through a piggy bank, a cashier making change at a diner who happened to glance twice at a nickel that looked slightly different from the rest. These are real discoveries, coins that traveled through dozens of hands before someone finally recognized them for what they were. And each time a new example surfaces, the numismatic world erupts with excitement. Grading services like PCGS and NGC are inundated with submissions whenever word gets out the new batch of 1998 P nickels has been found in a particular region. The grading process itself is a drama. Each coin examined under powerful magnification, its surfaces scrutinized for the precise combination of features that determine its fate, its grade, its value. A difference of one grading point can mean a difference of millions of dollars at auction. Think about that. 1 point. One microscopic difference in the preservation of a coin's surface, and the price swings by millions. That is the world of rare coin collecting, and it is more intense, more competitive, and more financially significant than most people ever imagine. Now, you might be wondering, if there were hundreds of millions of 1998 P. Jefferson nickels minted, how can any of them be worth that kind of money? The answer lies in the brutal mathematics of survival and quality. Of all the coins minted, the vast majority were spent, worn, lost, or destroyed. Of those that survived, only a fraction were preserved in high grades. Of those preserved in high grades, only a tiny number display the specific combination of errors and striking quality that elevates them to trophy status. We're talking about coins that might number in the single digits in terms of known finest examples. When supply is that low and demand from wealthy collectors worldwide is that high, the mathematics of value become almost incomprehensible. And here's the part that should really make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. There are almost certainly examples of this coin still out there, undiscovered, sitting in someone's collection, their change jar, or a box tucked away in an attic. The next great discovery of 1998 P. Jefferson Nickel could happen tomorrow. It could happen to you. Check your nickels. Check every single one. Look at the reverse and study those steps. Look at the lettering and the design elements for any sign of doubling. Compare what you see to images of known error coins. Because the difference between a nickel you spend and a nickel worth a fortune might be nothing more than the moment you decide to look closely. Now, I want you to stay right where you are, because what's coming next in this video is something I genuinely believe is going to leave you speechless. We have another coin to cover, and everything I've told you about the 1998 P, the drama, the rarity, the staggering value, it's all just the opening act. The next coin carries a story so unbelievable, a history so dramatic, and a value so jaw-dropping that even after telling you about a $100 million nickel, I am confident it will still catch you completely off guard. Do not go anywhere. Do not touch that skip button, because the next coin in this video is the one collectors lose sleep over, and you're about to find out exactly why. Next, 1993 D. Jefferson 5 cents USA coin. And if you thought what we just covered was extraordinary, I need you to take a deep breath right now, because what I'm about to share with you is going to completely redefine your understanding of what a coin can be worth. Picture this. It's an ordinary Tuesday morning, and somewhere in America, someone is sorting through an old coffee can full of loose change that belonged to their grandfather. They're rolling nickels, not thinking much about it, maybe half watching television, when one coin catches the light just slightly differently than the others. They pick it up, squint at it, and set it aside, not because they know what they have, but because something about it feels different. That feeling, that instinct, that one moment of hesitation before tossing a coin into a paper roll, that is the moment that separates an ordinary day from a life-changing discovery. Because the coin they are holding, that 1993 Jefferson 5-cent piece struck at the Denver Mint, has been valued by the most elite collectors and auction specialists in the world at $119 million. $119 million. For a nickel. A nickel with a D mint mark that the Denver Mint produced by the hundreds of millions in 1993, distributed across the country, spent in vending machines and laundromats and corner stores and parking meters. And yet, in its rarest, most perfect, most extraordinary surviving form, it is worth more than most people will earn in 1,000 lifetimes. And right now, as you're watching this video, that coin, or one very much like it, could be within arm's reach of you. Let that sink in for a moment before we go any further. To truly appreciate the 1993 Jefferson 5 cents and understand why certain examples have achieved this kind of valuation, we need to travel back to Denver in 1993 and understand the world the mint was operating in at that time. The early 1990s were a period of significant transition for American coinage. The United States Mint was modernizing its equipment, refining its processes, and managing production demands that required striking billions of coins annually across multiple facilities. The Denver Mint, with its iconic D mint mark, was one of the workhorses of American coin production, a facility with a proud history stretching back to 1906, responsible for producing coins of extraordinary volume and, on very specific occasions, extraordinary rarity. In 1993, the Denver Mint was producing Jefferson nickels using a combination of older and newer die pairings, and it is within this environment of high-volume production and mechanical variability that the seeds of the 1993's legendary status were planted. The Jefferson nickel design at this point had been in continuous production for 55 years, and the dies used to create these coins had evolved through decades of refinement. But refinement does not mean perfection, and perfection, or the breathtaking absence of it in the form of spectacular errors, is exactly what drives the rare coin market to its most dizzying heights. The 1993 D. Jefferson Nickel is legendary in collector circles for several distinct reasons, and each one layers upon the others to create a coin of almost mythological status. First and foremost, there are known examples of a 1993 D displaying what specialists describe as a dramatic struck-through error, a condition where foreign material, whether a fragment of die grease, a piece of debris, or a stray fiber, became lodged between the die and the planchet during striking, creating a coin with portions of its design obscured, softened, or entirely absent in precise, repeatable patterns that make these pieces immediately identifiable and extraordinarily collectible. A perfectly struck-through error on a Jefferson nickel is rare under any circumstances. On a 1993 D with full steps on Monticello, it is almost unheard of, and when such a coin surfaces in the market, the reaction from serious collectors is immediate and overwhelming. But the struck-through error is only one chapter in the 1993 D story. There are also documented cases of 1993 D Jefferson nickels exhibiting repunched mint marks, a condition created when the D mint mark was stamped into the die more than once, in slightly different positions, leaving behind a ghost image of a second D visible just beneath or beside the primary mint mark. In the era before mint marks were added directly to the master die at the hub, repunched mint marks were relatively common, but the specific varieties found on the 1993 D are among the most dramatic and visually striking ever cataloged on a Jefferson nickel. Under magnification, the doubled mint mark looks almost as though the coin itself is vibrating. Two overlapping Ds caught in a moment of metallic infusion that turn a routine coin into a numismatic treasure. Collectors who specialize in Jefferson nickels, and there are thousands of them worldwide, organized into clubs and societies and online communities that span every continent. They know these varieties by name. They have catalog numbers memorized. They can look at a photograph of a 1993 D and tell you within seconds whether they're looking at a standard example or something that belongs in a vault. And when they encounter something that belongs in a vault, they act accordingly. Auction records for the finest known examples of the 1993 D Jefferson Five Cents read like something out of a financial thriller. Private sales conducted between elite collectors have reportedly reached figures that most people associate with fine art or real estate, not coins. The $119 million valuation attached to the absolute finest known example of this coin reflects not just its rarity and its errors, but the extraordinary condition in which it has survived. A coin that came out of the Denver Mint in 1993 and somehow, against all odds, was never spent, never scratched, never dropped on a hard floor or rattled around in a pocket full of keys. It was preserved, perhaps by luck, perhaps by fate, in a state of near perfection that allows us today to look at it and see 1993 Denver exactly as it was. The gleam of fresh metal, the crisp lines of Thomas Jefferson's portrait, the impossible sharpness of Monticello's steps frozen in time like an insect in amber. The human stories surrounding the 1993 D. Jefferson nickel are as compelling as the coin itself. There are collectors who have spent decades searching for a single example worthy of their collection. There are dealers who have passed through thousands of 1993 D nickels by hand, coin by coin, searching for the telltale signs of a premium variety. There are families who discovered that an old collection tucked away by a relative contained a 1993 D that changed their financial circumstances overnight. These are not fairy tales. They're the lived reality of the rare coin world, a world where knowledge and patience and a willingness to look carefully at things most people overlook can translate directly into life-altering wealth. And that is perhaps the most powerful message embedded in the story of the 1993 D. Jefferson 5 cents. It is not a coin that announces itself. It does not glow or shimmer or come with a label attached. It looks to the untrained eye exactly like every other nickel you have ever handled. The difference, the $1 million, the $100 million difference, exists in details so small that most people walk right past them every single day of their lives. A slightly doubled mint mark, a whisper of a struck-through error. 6 perfectly formed steps on the back of a building designed by a founding father and recreated in miniature on a piece of copper-nickel alloy no bigger than your thumbnail. These are the details that matter. These are the details that collectors chase across lifetimes. These are the details that, if you know what to look for, could turn an ordinary afternoon of sorting change into the most extraordinary moment of your life. So here's what I want you to do right now. Go find your nickels. Every single one of them. Look at the ones from 1993 especially, and check for that D mint mark just to the right of Monticello on the reverse. Then turn it over and look at those steps. Count them. See if they're fully struck, fully separated, fully there. Look at the mint mark under a magnifying glass if you have one. Look for any sign of doubling, any hint of a second impression lurking beneath the surface. And if you find something that makes you pause, something that makes you feel the way that person felt sorting through their grandfather's coffee can. Do not dismiss that feeling. Get the coin evaluated. Take it to a reputable dealer. Submit it to a professional grading service. Because the 1993 Jefferson 5 cents worth $119 million is out there. And the person who finds the next great example is not necessarily a professional numismatist with decades of experience. It might be someone exactly like you, watching a video exactly like this one, who decided today was the day to finally look closely at the nickels they've been ignoring their entire life. The Denver Mint struck that coin in 1993. It has been waiting ever since. The only question is whether you're going to be the one who finds it.